Ας καθίσουμε παρακαλώ. Και τώρα ξεκινάμε τη δεύτερη ενότητα. Transforming Research into Action. Critical Fields in the Shipping Sector. Καλείται η Chairperson, καθηγήτρια Ελένη Θανοπούλου, από το Πανεπιστήμιο Αιγαίου. Κυρία Μαρία Λάμπρου, να πάρει τη θέση της. Η κυρία Μαρία Λεκάκου. Ο κύριος Γεωργούλης, Captain. Professor Thierry Vanneslander. Miss Ολυμπία Παπάζογλου. Mr. Διονύσης Χριστοδουλόπουλος. Dr. Ιωάννης Δάγκηνης. Associate Professor Άννα Κοτρίκλα. And also the discussant Dr. Νικόλαος Λιάπης. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. This is going to be a different panel. Different for many reasons. First of all, we have finally restored the half for 50. We are not just fit for 55. We are fit for a 50-50 world. So this is a more gender balanced panel. It is also a panel that brings together research, academia, and industry, which is one of the core goals of the organization of today's event. I'm glad I had to cross the entire continent to be this morning back to here, although it meant no so much sleep. I would lose sleep if I had missed this. I think it's an event that speaks to the core of what the spirit of the department and of Aegean University stands for. It's not just research as an abstract concept, is research applied to the problems of society with innovation and with social inclusion. So I think we are achieving this already by this panel. We're not achieving to compress space. We will try, however, to compress time, because the break actually ate up about 30 minutes of our allocation. So I will have to make a plea to the distinguished guests to this panel to cut their time in half if they can, or at least move towards that direction. So without further ado, I will remind the order we have first, a video. And there is no collusion here. The fact that my fellow student at university, Dr. Leonidas Dimitriadis Evgenidis, is doing the video is not my choice. It was the department's choice, Mike's choice. But I'm glad to introduce someone who has dedicated a lot of his time to the connection between research, industry, and of course, the sector of foundations like the Eugenidis. So could we please have the video, Mr. Evgerinos?
Φίλες και φίλοι, αγαπητοί σύνεδροι του Third Chios International Shipping Summit. Δυστυχώς, ανηλυμένες μου υποχρεώσεις δεν κάνουν δυνατό να είμαι physically κοντά σας σε ένα πάρα πολύ ενδιαφέρον summit, το οποίο νομίζω όχι σε ad hoc βάσεις, αλλά είναι η εκκίνηση μιας συστηματικής προσπάθειας, ούτως ώστε με ένα μεθοδολογικό τρόπο να δυναμώσει ο διάλογος μεταξύ της βιομηχανίας, της βαριάς βιομηχανίας των Ελλήνων, της ναυτιλίας και της ακαδημαϊκής κοινότητας σε μια πάρα πολύ δύσκολη και μεταβατική περίοδο, όπου η ελληνική ναυτιλία, η ναυτιλία των Ελλήνων, δεν είναι δυνατόν να μην είναι και αυτή πρωτοπόρος στον αγώνα για μια πιο μπλε, μια πιο πράσινη οικονομία, βαθιά ενταγμένη στα Sustainable Goals του IMO. Ο αείμνηστος Βερνίκος Ευγενίδης μου είχε πει κάποτε μια φράση που ποτέ δεν ξεχνάω. Μου λέει, παιδί μου, πιο σημαντικό στη ζωή σου είναι να ξέρεις τι δεν μπορείς να κάνεις και όχι το τι μπορείς να κάνεις. Αυτό λοιπόν που θέλω να πω είναι ότι η ποιότητα των ανθρώπων οι οποίοι συμμετέχουν σε αυτό το συνέδριο, τόσο από πλευράς βιομηχανίας, αλλά και το πολύ φιλικό και αγαπημένο περιβάλλον του Πανεπιστημίου Αιγαίου, γιατί και εγώ είμαι ένας Αιγαιοπελαγίτης, συχνιός μεν, αλλά αναγνωρίζοντας ότι η Χίος είναι η πρωτεύουσα της παγκόσμιας ναυτιλίας. Επομένως, οι πολύ εμπνευσμένοι δάσκαλοι και κυρίως η πολύ, να το έλεγε κανένας, προσωποκεντρική προσέγγιση, γιατί υπάρχει μια μεγάλη εγκύτητα μεταξύ των φοιτητών, των ερευνητών, των καθηγητών. Υπάρχει ένα ανοιχτό αιγαιοπελαγίτικο πνεύμα, όπου αυτή τη στιγμή που γίνεται όλη αυτή η μεγάλη προσπάθεια να συντονιστούν οι ενέργειες προς αυτή την κατεύθυνση, γιατί αν βάλεις σωστά τις νότες και έχεις ένα καλό μαέστρο, συνθέτεις ένα ωραίο κομμάτι μουσικής, αλλιώς είναι θόρυβος. Και όσο λιγότερο συστημική είναι η προσέγγιση, τόσο πιο αμφισβητούμενα είναι τα αποτελέσματα και το κυριότερο άμα γίνονται από συντόνιστες και από προσωποκεντρικές προσπάθειες, οι οποίες δεν μπορούν να συμβάλλουν με έναν τρόπο συνεκτικό, τόσο ώστε η έρευνα, η πανεπιστημιακή κοινότητα και το industry να συμβάλλουν ουσιαστικά. Η ελληνική ναυτιλία, η ναυτιλία των Ελλήνων, έχει μια πάγια θέση. Είμαστε neutral on technology. Δεν σημαίνει ότι ο καθένας σε επίπεδο θεσμικό αλλά και ατομικό επιχειρησιακό δεν έρχεται κοντά στην ερευνητική κοινότητα να συμβάλλει και αυτός με έρευνες, με project, με δράσεις στα πλοία. Είναι πάρα πολλές οι δράσεις που κάνουν στις σύγχρονες τεχνολογίες, ατομικά οι εταιρείες, οι όμιλοι, όχι μόνο σε θέματα training, αλλά σε θέματα εφαρμογής σύγχρονων τεχνολογιών, ώστε να συμβάλλουν προτού αλλάξει με μια ολιστική προσέγγιση το παγκόσμιο θεσμικό περιβάλλον, να μπορούμε να συμβάλλουμε κι εμείς, γιατί μερικές φορές μέχρι να μεγαλώσει το χόρτο πεθαίνει η αγελάδα που λέμε, ώστε να έχουμε μια πιο καθαρή θάλασσα και ένα πιο καθαρό περιβάλλον, ένα πιο καθαρό πλανήτη. Υπάρχει όμως ένα πάρα πολύ σημαντικό, ότι πρέπει πριν κάνουμε το οτιδήποτε και προτού γίνουν θεσμικές παρεμβάσεις, όπου ο IMO είναι ιδιαίτερα σημαντικός σε αυτόν τον αγώνα και σε αυτή την προσπάθεια, το να έχουμε μια ολιστική αντιμετώπιση με τα σωστά impact studies σε ένα ολιστικό επίπεδο, ώστε τα αποτελέσματα να είναι θετικά. Ευχόμαστε λοιπόν αυτές οι προσπάθειες, γιατί το πάνελ είναι πάρα πολύ σοβαρό, να μπορέσετε κι εσείς να βάλετε ένα λιθαράκι για ένα project το οποίο πρέπει να το σκεφτούμε ότι σαν να αρχίζει από την αρχή. Δεν υπάρχει ταξόνομη. Δεν υπάρχουν ακόμα ορισμοί σε πολλά πράγματα. Επομένως, είμαι σίγουρος ότι με το διάλογο θα μπορέσετε να βρείτε μια οργανωμένη, συγκλητική προσπάθεια που θα βάλει τη βάση, ώστε το επόμενο συνέδριο να είναι ακόμα καλύτερα από το πρώτο. Εύχομαι λοιπόν καλούς πλώες, ούριους, αιγαιοπελαγίτικους ανέμους. Καλή επιτυχία στο συνέδριο.
Right, I need to thank my fellow student for the wishes that he sent for a sustainable summit that we're going to continue having in the future, and for pointing exactly to the need for such sorts of experiments, which are not experiments. I think they should become best practice of a dialogue between academia, research and industry. So from my fellow student to our former student, Dr. Anna Karamingu, I think we have the ability to have either a video or a connection, Mr. Avierinos. There she is. Dr. Karamingu has graduated her MSc and has got a PhD, which she did with Professor Kapros. And as most of our students do, she got a prestigious role in DG Move in her case. And she is now able to tell us the most important question, perhaps, and to show us the money. Where is the money coming from the European Union? What can you do to support us? And of course, I'm just joking about the money. What else can you do to support us in the research efforts. Thank you. Nice to see you.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you too. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, a bit stronger.
Okay, I will talk silently then. It is very nice to see you, even digitally, even online. I'm very privileged to be here today and talk all things money and funding and SIPs and research, because I was there once as a student and as a researcher, and I decided to make the most out of it for sure. So today my thank you is double, one for the invitation and one for the knowledge you shared with me all these years. So today I'm going to share a few bits from myself to you as well. I represent the European Climate Infrastructure and Environment Executive Agency, not DigiMove, but we are collaborating with DigiMove, is our parent DG. A quick question, do I share my presentation or you will do that for me?
We have your presentation, so we can share it. But you can do it. You can do it.
I can do it myself. Okay.
So you have the control as well.
Okay.
It's coming. It's good. Good, excellent. You can put it to full mode or increase the central slide.
Put it in presentation mode. Voila. It's here. So as I told you, we are working from SINEA. SINEA is in a central position to help reaching the Green Deal objectives, in particular because we are managing 7 key funding programs, which you can see in the slides. 5 out of these programs are directly supporting waterborne projects. Horizon Europe program, which I'm sure you are very well familiar with it. I'm going to show a couple of projects that happen to be a project officer under Horizon Europe in a while. Under the Connecting Europe facility, what we call CEF, we are supporting projects in the field of port infrastructure, motorways of the sea, and inland waterways. Under the LIFE and MFAF projects, we are funding projects that help to improve the environmental footprint of shipping operations. The newest program that we have is Innovation Fund, which is very well developed for the industry. So since 2020, we are building a new portfolio of projects aiming at waterborne decarbonization under this program. And a little hint, Innovation Fund is for projects that are all ready to reach the market and to be deployed, as it is based on the calculation of the GHG avoidance that these projects can achieve. Across these programs that I just mentioned, SINEA is currently implementing in total more than 350 projects to waterborne, with an overall EU contribution close to 4.6 billion euros. And let's see some ships now. Next slide will be, okay, this will be. So SINEA currently implements more than 65 projects related to waterborne operations, and we have an EU contribution of more than 450 million for Horizon 2020 and the successor Horizon Europe. A majority of these projects are in the field of sustainable shipping, covering such as areas, alternative fuel, storage and propulsion systems, in particular hydrogen, ammonia, methanol, electrification solutions, ship emissions control, wind-based technologies, and zero emissions projects. But we are also covering projects related to digitalization of operations, safety improvements, and shipbuilding tools. Under the wind section, we have the project called CHECK that you can see on your right, which has recently featured on the BBC News as well. This project has installed a pair of rigid sails, almost 38 meters long, on board of a 200-meter carrier vessel, as you can see. The objective is to deliver up to 30% of energy savings in operations. And secondly, we have the tram project, which I was also very lucky to be on board this ship. This is under the electrification section. This is the world's first fully fast ferry which is operating in Norway and has also attracted a lot of media attention. This ferry has pushed the boundaries of electrification for waterborne applications in Europe, and it is now operated on a daily basis with great satisfaction from the customers, of course, because it is noiseless. And I was lucky to be welcomed on board. And moving from the Horizon Europe to how we can further help the industry, I have showed you here in this slide how we can navigate through these programs so you can take on board the best of each. So at Cinea, we encourage the natural growth of connections and collaborations between programs. And we have seen that synergies work most effectively when they are deliberately designed rather than left by chance. On one hand, we have programs like LIFE, Innovation Funds, and the Connecting Europe Facility. These programs are tailored to implement solutions, whether they are focused on environmental, climate-friendly industrial or infrastructure solutions, and their primary mission is practical deployment. We have Horizon 2020 and the involvement, which is Horizon Europe, and this program takes a different angle. It emphasizes mostly on the development and demonstration of solutions, and it often involves advancing the readiness level of technologies, taking them from early stages, concepts to high-level demonstrators. This lays the foundation for economic viability and societal acceptance. I'd like to draw attention on the Innovation Fund, again, which is a program of significant relevance for the industry. It's relatively new since 2020, as we said before, and holds immense potential for scaling up and deploying innovative technologies, processes, and also products. So these solutions, in order to be eligible for the Innovation Fund, need to have reached a sufficient level of maturity and be capable of making substantial reductions on GHG emissions. So I truly encourage you to explore this avenue on our portal, on the Funding and Tenders portal, and to have a closer look and submit the ideas. I was very sorry not to be able to be physically with you. I hope these insights from the European Commission gives a bit more perspective and a bit of guideline on what to do and which program is best for the ideas that you have in mind. We stand by you in case of questions. Thank you very much for the invitation. I wish you a productive conference and insightful discussions. Thank you very much.
The big applause wasn't for the money, it was for your nice presentation within the time limit that we had set. So thank you very much, Dr. Karamigou, because you are contributing to this, what we're doing, dissemination of opportunities, and perhaps inciting people to more collaboration towards what you're looking for. Thank you so much. So, Professor Labru, you want to speak from here? Excellent. Move my notes. And you saw in Dr. Karamigou's presentation that one very big part was on digital and automation. So you're coming next in there.
Yes, indeed. Have a good control here. Anyone using this hall for lectures? This control?
This point, it is changing.
Perfect. So, another good opportunity for me to warmly thank you for being here today. And I was asked to present you our new project, NavGreen. We just started this July. It's another, but not yet another project on decarbonization. It's a Greek project, a project funded by the Recovery and Resilience Fund, which is essentially EU funding, 2.5 million euros. And we also intend to examine and do research on alternative energy sources for ship operations, basically, and available, mature or not mature enough technologies for emissions monitoring. And in order to do so, we exploit a number or a set of available and emergent technologies, digitalization technologies. These projects, as I already said, is not just another decarbonization R&D project. Typically, as Anna explained, we all partners have been participating in EU R&D efforts. So there, the setup involves end user stakeholders, manufacturers, ship owners, and so on and so forth, the whole spectrum of stakeholders legitimate to express their needs, requirements, and expectations. But admittedly, this happens in the EU context. So the Greek industry has rather a limited space to voice their concerns and their demands about technologies, feasibility, trajectories, and so on and so forth. So the new thing, the interesting thing with this project, it's the chance for us all engineers and economists to capture the needs and expectations of the Greek shipping community. In order to do that, we also have promised, and we gained this through this competitive process, funding in order to produce a decision support tool, where there, as all scientists, researchers, but also the shipping community can have a certain set of interesting and relevant operational and market scenarios for the Greek context. So we have to articulate market and operational scenarios for ship types, routes, cargo types that are interesting and relevant for our own shipping community, not the Norwegian, not the German, not the global one. So age, routes, cargoes that interest the Greek shipping community. My team work on a particular emerging technology. We work on digital twin technology. And digital twin technology can be perceived as it's accurate enough to think of digital technology like a new updated simulation environment. So us all have been studying, working with previous versions of simulation, but digital twin is a new thing, not yet mature enough to be employed in order to replicate, to simulate a whole ship, a whole fleet. But we are trying and testing that already for smaller, more manageable subsystems like engines, alternative and hybrid energy and propulsion systems. And soon enough, we can be able, at least we work intensively on that, to exploit these advancements in real life operations for ship operations. So that's only one technology, one emergent digital technology to replicate assets, in our case ships, viable and realistically modeled and simulated subsystems, which we call sub-twins, and work on co-twining our assets in order to better monitoring, optimize, and manage shipping fleets, assets, trade, whatever we define for our departments as desirable to work on. My slides didn't work quite right. We simulated real life shipping operations. Things don't work quite as planned, and digitalization tools are there to do the life and the actual operation better and more efficient and safer. So I'm personally very much enthused about this new project. I very much thank Professor Liridis, the National Technical University Naval Engineering School, who is the scientific coordinator of this project, and who very decisively gave me the opportunity to lead this work package. I really appreciate that. I'm really happy to work with colleagues from the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, a number of departments, electrical and surveyors, and so on and so forth. The National Observatory of Athens, Demokritos. So we are just academics. We don't involve the stakeholders, but we kindly invite you to provide us with your expectations, your very precise demands. We have planned for related workshops to do so, and we expect to work closely with you in this case. Thank you very much.
Well, the engineers apparently are excelling in timekeeping, so it's the time now of the economists to prove themselves. You will be very much monitored in this, so please be, as always, great in talking, but very, very, very succinct and concise. Thank you.
You know very well.
Now I have to fight for the maritime economist pride. So I will do my best. Now from 6 up the 6 down and to the 5. I have already University and Physical Islands University and Axpelatis, and this idea of the blue growth. The blue growth activities and facts, as Eleni said, facts, data, and skills. The pillars of our endeavor, of our research, is how to build data and work on skills. And our first station is the Smart Blue Growth Center, just launched as the outcome of a regional project. The Excellence in the Aegean is called, and it is Excellency produced by University of the Aegean. So ocean, it is the English word. I think that thalassa is for us the understanding of the ocean, ships, ports, which is the hub for blue growth across the Aegean, islands, and of course people. But we need some data. I'm not going to make any more reference into our general approach regarding sustainability, globalization, digitalization. But what I'm going to focus on the links with city, ports, islands, and the maritime regions for building collaborations for innovation, focusing to the deep operational and management insights, consistent to stakeholders' needs, and embodying the maritime tradition and practice. Why embodying the maritime tradition and practice? Because we have run a research for the Greek government and also for the Adriatic-Ionian region EU strategy, which is the regional European strategy for blue growth, or as we call it today, sustainable blue economy. And we have found that, I'm not going to give more, that the most important priorities is to enable sustainable blue growth development of coastal and island communities. So there is a priority for coastal and island regions for sustainable blue growth. Improving governance. This is the biggest issue because it has to do with regional planning and spatial planning. And strengthening the networks of established with academics, training organization, professional organization of various maritime sectors in the macro region. So we are in accordance, our summit works for these important priorities. To cut the long story short, as Helen, we have identified, not we, the Greeks, not we from University of the Aegean, but for our region, that means Italy, Greece, Croatia, Montenegro, and Albania, and so on and so forth, that islands could be the best place to work on cultivating the blue skills and blue entrepreneurship, building identities based on heritage, local tradition, and social innovation, and of course, generating new knowledge on blue economy, local communities, cyclical economy, because cyclical economy was also posed in a priority. And talking about data, I will move very fast to ferries, because this is the outcome of our very, very last project, where Helen is an academic coordinator with Amalia Polydoropoulou. And this is our application for collecting the assessment of the people, of the travelers, by their experience on ferries. And talking about experience is not only for quality, but also for prices, because we have realized that although there is a public and strong public interest for the ferries, there is not a collection, there are not series of prices, there are not enough data for organizing, for governing or regulating this market. So replying, giving an answer to this big issue, we are using techniques of citizen science, and together with developers, we have made the ferrywatchers.aegean.gr application. We are really proud. Yes, the day before yesterday, we launched and we announced the functionality of this tool, which is the first in Europe, the best of our knowledge, collecting and building databases through the involvement of the local communities. We have run workshops in focus group in Chios, Astepalea, islands of the Aegean and the port of Piraeus, where we have made proof of concepts and all this. And the day before yesterday, we realized that this is a workable and attractive also app. So ferry watchers, and I haven't, and το ταξίδι συνεχίζεται, and it's Captain now who is going to talk for blue skills. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you for trying to keep the time. They know that when you don't know where to go to the sea. And I complete that by saying that when you have the blues, go to the blue economy, and you might get your spirit restored. So, Captain, try and get us speedily to the end of the trip. Thank you.
I will. I am not going to make it slow because it's time constraints here. So hard skills and soft skills. We got the hard skills by the legal framework, by the consultancy entities, and the ISM was the first station. The experience we have made by the implementation of the ISM give us to implement new management tools. Like this, I am listed here, but I'm not going one by one because we have time constraints anyway. These management tools have worked and we lived happily ever after? No, we didn't. Accidents continue to happen, we have very serious accidents. So we have to implement new tools, and we did. we implement new management tools like risk assessment, working hour, toolbox meeting, etc., quality management principles, etc., STCW at measures, etc., frame regulations, but here is the result. Accident still goes on with a linear, especially the minor ones, when it comes to fatalities, of crew fatalities and injuries. These are a straight line, no reduction at all from 2024 to 2020. So what should be done? Some guys said that safety culture has a very clear meaning on that. We are going to create culture, so safety in our heads, in our minds first. But not enough, because how are we going to create culture if we got that we have to get the job done with the risk management step besides a few times? And if we are going to blame the personnel if it is acting differently. Lesson learned by accidents, especially the minor ones, as I said before, showed us and highlight that we have to be oriented to soft skills. Our agenda in universities to improve communication between the education and the industry. And secondly, to improve the attractiveness, especially with the incident happened lately on video, when everybody now thinks that we seafarers throw people at the sea. We have to fix that bad name and awareness. Is there a space for improvement? Soft skills training is not a new topic, present of course, but there is ways and ways. Here in the university, according our research, we conclude on that. We are going to use case studies for soft skills implementation in 4 axes. As you can see, the first is people management with special soft skills, negotiation, leadership, multicultural. Second axis is well-being and resilience. We have time management and stress management. Third axis, emotional intelligence, which is very crucial because with these case studies, we have seafarers telling their stories. Not heroic stories always, but stories with our daily life. And the questions we have made as coaches and mentors, let's say, will guide us to that. How do you feel when you did that? What was your motivation? The other. And by that, we have the emotional intelligence impact on decision making. The fourth axis is growth mindset, of course, and with the growth mindset goes with the management of change, of course. And finally, all these axes are crossing by the communication axis. An example I will give you very fast. When we are on board and the captain says to the mate forward, please deploy the spring lines. Chief mate has his own opinion of how to do it. But captain, there is no connection between the first thought and the thought of the chief mate. So there is a communication lapse here. So we have to fix it. And sustainability will give us at the creation of case study database, tailor-made, maybe because we have an assessment center which provide us with specific soft skills by individuals, and the creation of online soft skills courses. Finally, I will give you that. The conclusion of that lead us to the first seminar by a university, which comes for seafarers. is a seminar of 2 months length.
Right. Thank you very much. Trying to become a container and not stick to tankers in terms of speed. Next, we had promised our very well-known guest, Thierry Valenslander, that he would have 8 minutes. It is now to his discretion to do the necessary if we want to listen to the keynote speaker of the next time. Yes, we have some people who have come to speak, but they might be leaving. So that's a big problem. No. I think you got the present. You got it. You did. Unless you put some pressure, people will go on talking, and this is what we're trying to avert. No worries.
Thank you, Helen, for the introduction. I will try to keep the compromise in time between longer and shorter, so we'll try to do it. Thanks to the organizers for having me here. Always nice to be back in Chios, not only for the great weather and the nice beaches, but also for the very good contents and the nice collaboration we have for more than 20 years now with the research group also here. From the side of Antwerp, I'm a professor at University of Antwerp, and I would like to talk a bit about the Belt and Road connection and a case study we have done on that. And why talking about that in the framework of shipping? Well, because we got triggered by the fact that to some extent, this Belt and Road land connection by rail might maybe also become a competitor. And is it new? Well, as you can see on this map, which gives the situation in the years 1200, so centuries ago, we already had this kind of competition between the maritime connection and the land connection. So it's not new. It got silent for a very long period, for centuries. And then it got revived some 10, 15 years ago with the Chinese policies, of course. China, who started investing in a massive land network also. I will not go in depth on this, but this is what the network today more or less looks like. And so the question is, to what extent could this be a competitor to the shipping business, to the shipping connections on these Asia-Europe routes? First, briefly, I will not go in depth, but some figures just to put everything into perspective. If we look at the volumes that have been traveling between Asia and Europe by rail, we see that we are talking about a couple of 100,000 of TEUs. So here we are focusing on containers, intermodal transportation. And you might say, I mean, what's this? One container ship, average container ship size, 15,000 TEU, the biggest ones today, 24,000 TEU. So these several 100,000 TEU means nothing in the total volumes, of course. That is true, but at the same time, we see that the volumes by rail on that connection have been growing very strongly over the past decade, especially. And if we look at the types of goods being transported there, well, then of course it's mainly traveling from east to west, finished products, manufactured goods. China is known for that. So a lot of that is being exported to Europe. You see it's electrical devices, it's mechanical equipment, it's automotive equipment. So anything that China is producing these days. So the question is, to what extent can we or should we fear more, let's say, this land connection? So what we've done is we've made calculations, cost calculations, operational cost and time costs of that connection between Asia and Europe. So we model, on the one hand, the sea connection, so starting in China, east-west, moving on to one of the ports in Europe, and we also include South European ports, Piraeus, for instance, who has, of course, important Chinese investments already. And then we compare that with the land connection, which then goes by rail, mainly complemented with road where necessary. We do that with a chain cost model that we have developed. I will not go in depth. You can find much more on that on the website if you like. What it basically does is calculating the operational cost plus the time cost, the value of time of the transport time that is taken from an origin to a destination, making all possible kinds of combinations. In this case, we've made this combination for a number of routes between Asia and Europe. You can find them top right in the table. And so when the maritime transport is involved, the most suitable port is included. In some cases, this is also the port of Piraeus, some of these routes, for instance. In other cases, we are dealing with North European ports here. And we compare the costs on those connections for that maritime route with the land transport route by rail, and also with air transportation briefly, because of course air to some extent might also be a competitor. Now I will focus first just on the results, the cost results. And remember, it's generalized costs. That means it's the operational cost, so the real cost of the operation, plus the cost of the time. Yeah, and we know that rail is quicker than maritime transportation. One needs about half the time by rail as one would need by shipping. Yeah, so that has an impact on that time cost, of course. So you see, for all these routes, we end up approximately with a cost per container, per TEU, small container, of around 3,500 euros per container transported. That's for the rail situation. You see also for different commodities, the different colors. Why? Well, because a different commodity with a different value means a different value of time. So the generalized cost changes. But let's look especially at what this means for maritime transportation. I would like you to focus a bit here on this first column, the column with the comparison between rail to maritime. Yeah? So for the costs we have calculated for both ways of transporting, you see again for the different routes, you see that most often we have a value of either 1 or 2. 2 meaning that the cost by rail is double as high as the cost by maritime transportation, but 1 meaning it's exactly or more or less exactly the same. Yeah, that means there are a number of routes, and especially the ones starting in the west of China, the western provinces of China, where rail, in fact, is at least competitive with maritime transportation, is not more expensive. Again, taking into account the operational cost plus the time cost there. And we can also map this out. We've done this just for a few regions. And what you basically see is that the regions very close to the Chinese coast remain mainly dominated by maritime transportation. Their maritime is the most interesting one. But as soon as you go more towards the west, rail really becomes a competitor. Yeah, becomes cost-wise competitive to maritime transportation. And this, of course, will have impacts on the volumes transported by maritime transportation. Also for ports, this will have impact. Volumes might change, might decrease in some ports also in Europe. We did some sensitivity on that. I will not go in depth given the time, but we looked at shorter transit times. We looked at longer trains that could be implemented. What this basically means, and especially if we put into place shorter transit times, so if we manage to speed up rail even more than it already is, you can see that it becomes really very close in most cases to the cost of maritime transportation. Yeah? So that means that if rail manages to become even more efficient, it will even, well, push harder on maritime transportation, on the maritime transport volumes. Side note, of course, with the current developments, we see, of course, that with the war between Russia and Ukraine, this big middle corridor is, well, a bit blocked. Yeah, it's in a very difficult situation. So that's the one that is currently a bit stopping this land solution. But I mean, be assured that the Chinese will continue pushing on this, of course, and will try to continue to push this connection through. So I hope I've shed some insights in how maritime can also be triggered, can also be a competitor of rail transportation at some point. Yeah? And I kindly invite you for questions during the debate, of course, or later on via this email address if you like. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And this is one of the reasons I want to make some time, because I'm sure that we're going to have very interesting questions from the audience. And one of our key purposes for being here is dialogue.